So I am so pleased to be talking to you, Maureen, today. I'm really honored and pleased, really. So could you please introduce yourself and what do you do for business?
Sure. Hi, I'm Maureen Renee Hughes, and I'm a singer-songwriter and actor.
Perfect. Okay, let me start by this question. Like, do you improve in acting by performing better or by becoming famous?
Sure. So I think when people are starting to gain traction in their field, of course, they have more resources available to them. I can think of some examples like they might have an accent or dialogue coach. They might have, certain acting teachers and vocal coaches that they can use. So I think that can definitely help to improve their performance ultimately. But regardless of whether someone's famous or not, I think there are really great actors out there who just put in the work and ultimately become better actors because of it.
Okay, okay. Can someone be a good actor let's say a famous actor by just being famous somewhere else? Like, can you use your
Uh,
fame and your popularity to become a famous actor, regardless of your skills?
so to become a famous actor, sure. So if the question is like to become famous, definitely think of like reality stars. They don't have any acting background, but they're famous and they get roles because of it. But if the question is like, are they better performers? Can they like take on any type of role and turn it into something awesome? That's where I would say fame might not make a difference there because it really ultimately is the skill of the actor.
Okay. So tell me about a hard time in your career that you managed to overcome.
Okay, sure. So I'd say one of the hardest things as an actor and really any type of artist is getting used to rejection, especially if you're a performer and you're submitting, let's say, an audition, or you go into a room to audition. You have to be okay with them saying, nope, you're not what we're looking for. We're just not getting called back. Even going to agents, you can go to an agent and they're like, you know what, we already have your type, or, we don't want to work with you today. And you have to take that and be like, you know what, okay, what can I do better? Or maybe can I go somewhere else where I'm a better fit? And I think I experienced that really directly when I was first starting film acting. I had a lot of theater experience, but not as much with film. And I applied for agents, and agents at the time said, hey, you need to go do student films, indie productions, whatever you can do in order to get experience, and then we'll consider you. And I took that as a note. And it was hard at the time because I was like, okay, I need to start from scratch here, but I made it work, got a lot of experience, and now I've been getting more regular work.
Very, very interesting. Okay, could you
Yep.
explain more about what other challenges could an aspiring or a new actor face?
Challenges. I think there's so many out there, to be honest. I'd say understanding what roles you can perform, I think, is one. So understanding your skill set, understanding your brand, like how do people see you in terms of an audience, also casting directors. That's something that I think was tricky for me starting out. I in theater would often play a lot older than I was, and I had to realize, no, like my type is anywhere from young 20s to, a mom in her 30s. Like it really just depends on who I'm talking to and who I'm. So I think that's challenging for me, and it definitely I think is challenging for other actors if they don't have a good understanding of what their brand or type is. Another challenge I would say is financial. I'm fortunate in a software company full time, so I'm able to do that to support myself. But there are a lot of actors and other performers and artists out there that have to really just make it work. Like they might take up photography or they'll do something else in order to really help support their craft in their pursuit of being an artist. So that's something I'd say is also a challenge for a lot of people.
Okay, let me ask you another question here.
Sure.
Like, where is the line between your person and personal life and your career, or what you can put in your acting business?
Okay. In terms of time commitment or financially,
Yeah, both.
both? I'd say financially. So I actually have an accounting background. I studied accounting and acting in school. So I always like to be conscious of what I'm spending, what I'm investing in my career as an actor, as well as my software pursuits. So with acting, I like to, I guess, I'll spend money on headshots, and I'll anything that I know that I don't have the direct skill for yet, I'll put money into that. But for some things like creating actor reels or film reels, I decided to take that on myself to learn how to do that, so that I wouldn't have to spend money ultimately doing that. And that's a thing that a lot of artists do. If there's something that could be expensive, if they learn that skill, they can ultimately save a lot on cost. Same thing with singing. I recently set up a home studio where I can record my vocals to, again, save on cost. So you can still get the same end result, but I guess you're putting more in terms of the time commitment because you're learning that new skill compared to spending money on it. So I would say for me, in terms of personal life with time, I think all of it's just a balance. You have to spend time with the people who are important to you and make time every day to, spend time with your family and make sure you're on the same page with them, because I've definitely seen cases where if you're not on the same page with your family, there might be situations where one person's waiting on you and you're doing something else. So you just need to make sure you have that, great communication.
Very nice. Okay,
Yeah.
Can you fight with a sword or with a bow?
Interesting question. I have taken hand combat classes, and I think I took a sword fighting class back in high school, but it's honestly been a hot minute since I've done that. So that's something I would need to take another class to really improve that skill. Bow and arrow is something I think I've played around with a couple times, but I haven't taken official, training for that. So not as skilled in that area, but I'm definitely interested in becoming more skilled there.
Very nice. Okay. As an actor to be successful, do you need to have a strong business background?
I think it helps, because if you really see your brand as an actor or artist as a business, I guess to step back, there's a line. You want to make sure you're enjoying what you're doing ultimately, that you're not just oh, I'm doing this just to get paid. That's not what it's about. You want to do it because you do enjoy it, you do love it. But seeing yourself as a business in terms of what is your brand when you submit for an audition, and if you're fully off book in terms of the lines, if you're dressed nicely and you have a great setup with your lighting and sound and everything, that'll just help the casting directors and people evaluating your performance to see that you're taking it seriously. So from that perspective, I would say treat yourself like a business as an artist, so that people do take you seriously. But at the same time, it's kind of tricky. Don't take yourself so seriously that you don't enjoy what you're doing ultimately.
Okay, let's go to another area here. How do racism and bias affect your career?
Sure. So, and I'm not sure if I'm totally qualified to speak on this, but I have seen areas where, depending on who's casting a production, the roles that are written for certain people might be kind of cliche. I know I've seen a lot of parts written for African American people are very cliche best friend, or something else that's, I feel like they could add more dimensionality to that role. And that's something that I've noticed just observing it. I haven't personally experienced that. But I would say, that's something that I'm definitely hoping that both Hollywood and more indie production houses are more aware of, and they're taking steps to improve their knowledge of the situation, becoming more aware of making roles available for people of all backgrounds, all colors, as well as making those roles very fulfilling. Because I have seen cases where maybe they do have a diverse cast, but only one or two of them have a lot of dimensionality. So that's what I've noticed from that perspective. And of course, you have some extreme cases where, depending on the production that you're on, some people might say things that are kind of hateful, but I haven't noticed that for the most part. I think usually, from what I've seen, the artists that I've worked with are pretty aware. They try to be respectful. And I think it's just a challenge of creating those roles that will be fulfilling for everyone and give everyone an opportunity.
Can you refuse to play certain characters?
Definitely. So if you're an agent, what typically happens is they will send you a breakdown of the role. The role typically mentions, include profanity or anything that you might not be comfortable with, and you can just decline the role right then and there. Don't even submit an audition for it. There are some situations though, with or without an agent, where they don't disclose everything that's required for that role. And let's say you submit the audition, you get the role, and then right before you go to set or even on set, they're like, oh, we want you to do this thing. And it wasn't in the script. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't outlined for you ahead of time. That's where I think as an actor, you do have the right to say, you know, I'm not comfortable with this. This was not in my contract. And you do have the right to turn that down. And I would say that's helpful to have an agent in that regard, because they can speak up on your behalf and say, hey, my client did not have this in their contract. You can't just add it last minute. But in terms of just not being comfortable with the role in general, I would just say, you know, turn it down up front.
Very nice. Okay, can you choose to play a weak character, a weak-built character?
So weak character, do you mean in terms of, you know, they're like a tragic character, or they're sad, or like they're not, you know,
they don't have a big area in the movie, for example.
Oh, like a supporting role kind of thing?
Yeah.
And is the question like, can I turn that down, or like, would I play those roles, or?
Yeah, like how would you play these roles?
Oh, sure. So I've definitely, especially in the market that I'm in right now in the Southeast US, I think a lot of roles that you tend to get are supporting characters. So I wouldn't think of them as weak, and, you know, from the perspective that you can make them more fully dimensional based on the actor work you do behind it. You won't always be able to use the script as inspiration for that if you don't have a lot of lines or you don't have a lot of screen time. But I have had situations where I look at a script and my role breakdown, and it's like, okay, I'm someone's older sister and I have a child and I have to fill in the blanks, you know. And that's where I put in the work to maybe add more to that story. And some of it, you do have to use your imagination, but I would say you can still have a fulfilling experience as an actor when you fill in those gaps, and then you come to set fully ready, understanding who your character is at the end of the day.
Okay, can the people around you, like the producers, the directors, and everyone around you, shape your idea about your self-image and your identity?
As an actor, like my character, like my
no, as a person, as an actor, and as a person.
Okay. So of course, as a character, you know, if they're giving you feedback, you would take those notes because that's their role to tell you whether or not you're on track based on, you know, the work you've done and what you're doing on set. But as a person, I can see where there's a potential for someone to get on set and feel self-conscious, or they think, oh, maybe I should be doing something different. But I tried to not let that influence me too much, because at the end of the day, you are who you are. You've brought, you know, your work to the table and you're ready to go. And when you become more that really keep the end of the day and to the fullest capability, pretty much.
Let me ask you a follow-up question here. Like, how do you accept, or how do you take negative criticism or negative feedback?
Sure. So negative feedback, of course, is never enjoyable, to say the least. But, and I will say a lot of actors that I know, myself included, the biggest critics tend to be themselves, because they'll watch something and they'll be like, oh, I hate when I did that, or oh, you know, I don't know if my acting choice there was very strong. Like one example, Daniel Radcliffe, I think it was the 5th Harry Potter movie. I don't know anyone who criticized his performance, but he was like, oh man, I did not do a good job. Like out of left field, he just mentioned that and everyone's like, okay. So I would say if anyone's critical of, you know, their work, the actor tends to be that first person. But outside of that, you know, let's say if someone posts something on YouTube, or if you get feedback from your agent or from the director that they don't like what you did, while constructive feedback is appreciated because it's, you know, phrased in a way that says, hey, I don't understand what you're doing at the heart of, you know, whatever your character choice is, but hey, let's try to see it a different way. That's the most helpful feedback you can get when they want you to do something different. But I have definitely gotten straight up negative feedback. And I usually take that as a challenge to be like, okay, well, if this is how they see this performance or whatever the situation is, I can say, okay, what can I do better? And then also I try to take that to be more resilient and say, you know what? regardless of, you know, what someone says, I can continue to be myself and keep performing and enjoy what I do.
Very good. How do you build your relationship with your audience and your fans?
So that's something I'm trying to get better at, actually. So I do have a social media presence. I have a YouTube channel for my singer-songwriter stuff, and it's linked to my actor account where I have my film reel and any projects that I've been working on. So I try to post there and share that on Facebook and Instagram, a little bit on TikTok. I haven't done a lot on there yet, but in terms of, you know, not directly behind the camera, just like reaching out to people, that's what I tend to do. And then for my music and for any projects I might be producing on the film side, I'll take out, you know, ads on Facebook and things like that to try to get more exposure, more of a reach for the audience.
How do you react to the appreciation of your audience?
Sorry, can you rephrase the question?
Yeah, how do you react to the appreciation, to the love, to the care, to the attention of your audience?
I get really excited whenever I get positive feedback, because as an actor or performer, you get so much negativity, unfortunately, that when you get something positive, it's a genuine refresh. I don't know, like I have one friend who is a friend in high school who loves my music. And whenever they would, you know, post on YouTube or post on Facebook about how I'm waiting for the next song or something, that gets me super excited because I realize someone really enjoys the work that I'm doing. And while it's not all about, you know, the audience, because I think as an artist, it's fulfilling to just create something as well. It is really nice. It's really refreshing to have someone say like, hey, I really love what you do. Keep doing it. I'm there to cheer you on. It's really great.
What do you want to change in the minds of your audience?
What would I want to change in terms of like film acting or songwriting?
Both.
Let's see. Well, film acting, I don't know if it would be casting directors. I tend to be cast, but so I definitely in the market that I'm in, I tend to be cast in more supporting roles. And I guess sometimes I've been cast in a very sympathetic role. Sometimes I've been cast in more of like a villainous role. So I would say it would be nice to get across to like casting directors that I do have a lot of skills and dimensionality, that I'm not just like a one note type of, you know, actor in terms of like, oh, I'm always someone's like sister, or I'm always like the mean girl. That tends to be like the two areas that I get cast in with film. But with audience, I don't think there's anything you need to change, because the audience just observes your performance. And if you do a good job, then that's it, you know. But for singing and songwriting and performing my music, I would say for that, maybe since I don't stick to one genre, to maybe appreciate or consider that, you know, music and artists don't always have to stick to one genre or one sound. While it does ultimately help their brand, I would like them to think of, you know, what does the song need? Like, does it need to be a country song? Does it need to be a pop song? What is, you know, the truest form of that music? And then kind of just accept it for what it is, regardless of what genre of music it falls under.
Okay, if people generally look into your mind, what do they expect to see?
Oh goodness, kind of like if they could just open it up and see what's in there, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I guess they would see a lot going on. It would be like, okay, in this pocket, she's working on her software stuff. In this pocket, she's working on music. In this pocket, she's like, I'm producing and writing a music video that I'm working on. In this pocket, she's a film actor. In this pocket, she's doing commercial work. So I think it's just, it would be a lot of gears and a lot of different things going on, to be honest. I try not to like overload myself, but I do have a lot of interest in a lot of things that I like to do.
Very nice. Okay, what is something that affects all of you, all of your work, and people don't see about you?
Let's see, what affects my work people don't see. So
Yeah.
just like something that people don't know about me as a person, or
let's say, for example, you dedicate more time than people think, you dedicate more thinking than people think, you put a lot of effort and people are not aware of that. Something
okay.
that people don't appreciate about you.
Yeah, and I guess I don't think of it as like they don't appreciate it, but I could see where a lot of people don't realize how much work it takes to be an actor or singer or writer. I know for songwriting as a standalone, I tend to get an idea for a melody or lyrics and I write it down. And then I'll step away, come back. I'll often do a lot of rewrites. I have to figure out what tempo, what key. I go through this whole process with production. Like I work with a couple of producers that live in other cities, and I have to record the melody, record my vocals for reference, and go through this whole process of making it what it ends up being. And it does take a lot of work. It takes a lot of TLC and editing, finessing, being able to listen to it and realize, you know, is that really what I want the song to be? Do I want to change something? And there have been cases where I just like totally start over just because you want it to be the best thing it can be ultimately. And same thing with acting. I'd say one thing that people don't realize is how much time people put into auditions and classes. A lot of actors spend most of their time working on their craft. They're taking classes, they're doing webinars, you know, you name it, just to make sure they're, you know, fresh in terms of their skill set as an actor, performer. Also spending a lot of time working on their resume, working on their film reels, all of their marketing materials in a way, website, so that people can understand who they are and they can get that far into the actors and anyone who might be casting for a film. And then the auditioning process itself, a lot of people don't realize, like when you get an audition, you have to set up the camera, the lights, everything, the audio. You might have like a lapel mic or something, and, you know, get ready for the audition, then record it as many times as it takes to get, you know, different versions of the audition if that's what they're asking for. Then you have to edit everything together, send it to your agent. You know, once you get it back, then you have to like coordinate based on your schedule, like if you're gonna get there, like are they covering housing? Ultimately, like logistically, it's a lot of time commitment as an actor, not just perfecting your craft, but doing the work. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize.
Perfect. Okay, let me ask you another question here. Being a singer, is it a good thing? Is it an advantage or a disadvantage to an actor? Like being a singer, does it limit your roles in the films, in this business?
I mean, I don't think so, because it's just an added skill. Because I always had a brand that I'm a musical actor, I could see that being limited or limiting from one perspective, where they being casting directors might only want to cast you in those types of roles. But really, it's an added skill. So I like to think of it as, if I'm cast in a role that needs to sing or perform in any capacity, I am all set because I do that. So I definitely see it as a benefit.
Perfect. Let us see one of your benefits. Like, give us a song, your favorite song.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it okay if it's one of my songs, or would you prefer like a different song?
I prefer the song that you prefer.
Okay. Okay, cool. So that works. So a song that I am producing a music video for, we're going to be filming it in October. I'm super, super excited. The song is called Villain, and it's kind of fun, kind of like seeing the story from the perspective, and are they actually a villain, or were they just personified as a villain, or, you know, projected to be that? So this song is playing with that idea. So I'll start with do you want me to sing the whole song, or just maybe like a verse and chorus?
Yeah. A part of it.
Okay. Sure, I'll just sing the second verse and chorus of Villain.
Okay.
So, secrets in an empty cage, the door's wide open but you can't escape. So instead of the truth, you just give my name, and instead of fighting, I choose to turn away. And know what it looks like. It looks like I ruined it all, and I know what it feels like. I feel it too, but it's okay to be lonely for a day, because I'd rather set things right than start a fire. I'll be the villain in your story, and I'll be the villain in your story, and I'll be the villain in your story. Let you have all the love, the power, and the glory. Oh, and I'll be the villain in your story. That's verse chorus of the song.
We never want you to be the villain. We want to be the hero all the time. Okay.
Yeah. So the song is actually in the music video. I'm going to play with that fairy tale villain vibe, but the overall point of it is like my inspiration was having a relationship more than it was, and when I was like, no, I'm not comfortable with that, he ended up, you know, making me feel guilty. It was kind of like a manipulative thing. Like, even though it's like, no, that's my boundary, he was like almost portraying me as the villain in his story. So the song is about, it doesn't have to, you know, just be that situation. It could be any situation where seeing you as a villain or the bad guy. It's just, you know, they're painting that situation and just being like, sure, I'll be the villain in your story, but I'm going to be the protagonist of my own and live my life. So it's pretty much the point of that one.
That's so interesting. It has been thrilling to talk to you, Maureen, today. Thank you so much. I cannot appreciate your presence here enough, really.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been fun talking to you.
Have a fantastic day.
Thanks, you too.